you didn't want to make them upset because you knew underlying there was that stern guy there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, there was never a doubt in my mind whether you and your brother are home or not. I could just walk in the door and sit down and have a chat with him like it was my own dad, and that always meant a lot to me. That meant a lot to me, and still, I mean, it's been 35 years, and I can still just have a conversation with him like he's my friend, not my friend's dad. Yeah, it's pretty cool. When John and I got our first apartment together, um, we got that we got that we got we got that apartment, and the day we're moving in, we're all so excited. My mom and dad were there. We're all helping us move stuff in, and I was in the back of a truck, and I don't think my mom and him realized I was right behind him. But my mom says, "Isn't this so exciting?" And your dad goes, "No." She goes, and she's like, "No." She's like, "It's so good to see them like moving on and doing the," and see, your dad hadn't had a kid leave home yet. My
Mm-hmm.
parents had. I had joined the Marines. I'd gone away. Sending your kid off to the Marines is a heck of a lot different than sending it off to an apartment in Concord, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but your dad just starts crying, like blubbery cry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I know it's good for them, but I just wish that they could stay forever. And when he said they impacted me, because I'm like, I think he means me too. I think he means he knows it's the end of their household being this like revolving door of young people, and Kenny's leaving the next year kind of thing. And you may have already been, yeah, you'd graduated obviously because it was a few years later. So I just remember that moment of he just didn't want that to end, everybody being there.
Realized three different things that your dad taught me that I couldn't quantify before. But one, he was the first funny Christian that I met, and I used to love going to whenever there'd be a party, I would immediately try to find your dad because his stories were so unbelievably funny. And he made me want to be a great storyteller because he, his timing, his pacing, and the majority, so many of them were about his mother-in-law, which made me crack up because my mother-in-law lives with me. So I know that those stories well, but I just remember because at Concord Christian Center, all those grown-ups were so freaking boring. And I just remember that your dad was a funny Christian and told great stories and lived a great adventure, which was super catalytic in me wanting to do the same. And so I didn't realize that until then. But what was even more impactful to me was the way that your dad never gave up on Gary Fernandez. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that Christianity was a bunch of rules of don't do this and don't do that. And I didn't like the grown-up version of Christianity because it kind of sucked. Whereas my version was just knowing Jesus as my father. And then to meet your dad and to watch him never give up on Gary. And I remember him telling this one story about Gary having a huge goiter, he said, on his shoulder or something that was just this big pus-filled goiter that was, just grossing me out even to hear about it. And yet when I think about the whole church gave up on Gary, everybody gave up on him, and your dad was always there for him. And that just reminded me of what Jesus does. And so it's so interesting because I always knew your dad to be a badass and a super funny storyteller, but he lived the gospel. He lived the love others as you love yourself. And it was so endearing to me because I wanted to, your dad's a man's man who loves Jesus versus a pansy Christian who fears the world. And so that was just a wonderful gift to me. And I'll never forget those because those parties were so much better when your dad was there, as he would just start making jokes and telling stories and talking smack. And it was, it was just amazing. So those are my most profound memories of your dad.
Your dad would love to take people out to El Charro for
Mm-hmm.
lunch. And so he took Kenny to El Charro and he got him lunch. He took a few people, and I don't know if it was like an employee of the year award or a month or whatever. But the thing that was so funny about it was that he took them, and Kenny decided to order a Kahlua Moose for dessert. And he loved it so much that he went back and got another one. Well, apparently there was enough Kahlua in there to give him some courage, because he came back. Well, first of all, he was pretty tipsy coming back. And then he got then he got to the office and he decided he wanted to pick a fight with me, basically saying, I don't care how big you are. And I'm like, I'm going to kick your ass. And I'm like, are you okay? Because, I mean, first of all, I mean, I knew he was just like, he was just being real brave. I mean, he wasn't mad or nothing, but he was like being really funny. And they finally said, you know what, we're going to take him home. So I remember they took him home, and apparently he didn't even make it to the house. I mean, you know, awake. He's
Oh my
not at all.
God. When did we moved in? Did we live with you guys?
We did, and that came. We figured since we were over at your house so late, hey, why don't we get this big, huge house in Daniels and Clinton? And it was like a big old 5-bedroom, sprawling 2-story house, and so.
And we both had groups of fellowship at the church. We had separate groups. So we also had young people that were in our groups. So I know 2 of them, there were 2 or 3 of them lived with us at the house. So we had like
we had Kent like Durr and Dennis.
Yeah, it was sort of like a little commune type thing.
Yeah, it was kind of.
So it was quite an interesting thing. It's so funny because we live together, you know, and that's very difficult because, you know, everybody has their ways of living. And it was funny because we all came to agreement at the same time and said, okay, we've had enough. Let's all back to our other places. And we never lost our friendship.
You cut it off just in time.
Yeah, so Ken and I are a lot alike. So both 2 kind of strong-willed people together, and then Pat and your mom are a lot alike.
It was really, that's the way it was.
But it made it for great conversation because I saw exactly what Ken would see when he was talking about something and agreed 100% most of the time.
Yeah.
And he was just exactly like your mom. And so we just were so close, you know, but living together was a little different thing. And so we butt heads a little bit and ended up spending more time in our bedrooms than we liked. And even had to have your Uncle Jim over more than one time to mediate for us. But at the end, it was just 1 year, and we came out fast friends still.
Yeah,
so
we did,
Oh
that's what they say about you and still love you, right?
Yeah.
That's right. We all didn't want to live together. But
That's so funny. I knew a little bit of that. I didn't know it wasn't working out. I knew we lived there for a while. I never know, because we lived in so many houses. I never know the story of why we moved out of different houses. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's quite an experience.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about your dad. You guys did have a lot of houses, man. He'd go. You guys would move into a place, and I'm telling you, within 2 or 3 weeks, he had that thing painted inside and out. You know, everything's in place out there in the yard. You know, and then I, you know, my wife would say, "Ken got all that done pretty quick." And I'd say, "Oh, that guy's he's killing me. He's driving me nuts." And then 2 years later, hey, you know what? We got another place, man. You guys come take a look at it. And I thought, how does he do it? How does he do it? I'm worn out.
Okay, my dad doesn't remember this, so he must have locked this out of his memory, but I do. You guys and your stinking April Fool's jokes. So I was in one of them, and he doesn't remember this, but you called him and said that he got your daughter pregnant after a rap, that I got your daughter pregnant after a rap show. Can you tell that story so that he can remember it?
Oh, I don't remember that, Kenny.
You don't?
I do.
Oh.
All right.
Oh my gosh, Pat.
Well, we got in the habit of doing this on April 1st. You know, we pulled this thing and you know, several times, and one was Johnny was on the other end of it, but it wasn't like this one. This is when I stopped it. Okay, this one right here, I thought that I had definitely crossed the line, and it's not good. So I had I'd called him, and I forgot who was in the background. I had somebody working with me. I think it might have been my sister. Yeah. So anyhow,
That's your mom.
what? No, that was another one. No. So anyhow, with this one, so I called him up and I said, "Hey, buddy, I want to talk to you." You know, and he goes, "Yeah, well, what about? Who are you? Who is this?" You know, and you know, your dad. You could get him because he wouldn't recognize. I don't know if they had. I don't think they had caller ID. They had caller ID. I think. I'm not sure, but he never recognized. You know who it was calling, and because I think once you got them upset, you know how people they lose their perspective when they get upset or angry, their emotions get them. So with Ken, I'd get him right away. I'd say, hey buddy, you know, I said I want to talk to you about your son. And he goes, "What about? Who are you talking about?" And I said, your son Kenny. And he goes, "What?" He goes, "Well, my daughter, she's pregnant." And I said, "And she's and so, you know, I want to know about, you know, we're just, you know, we're in shock." He goes, "What are you talking about?" So, you know, I don't want to go into detail, but anyhow, we went back and forth, and then of course then I don't know if I told him right then or I called him back and
Oh no, you called him back.
He was so upset, and I felt so bad. I went to the store, got him some ice cream, you know, and went to your door, and he opened the doors. "Ken, I'm so sorry, man." I said, "That was just never again," and I never did. Never again did I do April.
Oh my god.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Well, my side of it. So I was sitting there minding my own business, and all of a sudden my dad comes in and he goes, "Where did you go after the concert?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Last Friday you were at a concert, or 2 weeks ago, or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Where did you go afterwards?" I'm like, "To Lions with all the guys." And he's like, "Then where?" And I'm like, "Then home. We stayed there late. Why? Why are you so mad?" And like, I could see his brain turning. I still remember it. And then I remember you at the outside with the ice cream, and I was like, "Dad, did he get you again?" So, but it was the last one because you had some really good ones for a while.
We did. He called me early in the morning. He got about, I guess it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and he goes, you know, he answers the phone. And he goes, "Hey, buddy, I want to buy your car." And I said, "What?" He goes, he says, "I'd like to buy your car." He says, "Your car is in the paper here." He says, "I'm really interested in buying it." I said, "I don't have a car, you know, for sale." And he goes, "Listen, are you going to honor this ad or what?" And he tells me what my car is and the whole bit, you know. And I said, "I never put that thing in there, you know." And so, and he's got me all disoriented. And then he starts laughing. He says, "April Fools."
No way.
And then he did get a job plastering, and I would take him out to Rossmore and pick him up every single day. And then we got his car fixed for him. 2 days later, he was gone and joined the circus after we paid to get his car fixed.
My dad?
He left with Skip and went and joined the circus down south.
Wait, start that over. What?
Yeah. And came back without the car, right?
Yes, came back without the car.
He left with Skip too.
Hit that little friend of his, Skip, that was so short.
And he joined the circus?
Yes. Yeah. I wrote some qualities down. Your brother, or my brother, is really generous. He has a soft heart. And a couple of examples is there was a lady on Facebook who he knew casually, but not very well. And she put on there that she had a bad tooth and didn't know what she was going to do. So your dad sends her the money to get her tooth fixed.
Yeah.
Another time, Uncle Jim and I had just started pastoring, and he was supposed to do a wedding. and he didn't even own a suit. And your mom and dad bought him a suit so he could do that wedding.
Wow.
And you know, when you go out to dinner with him, if you don't pay before you eat, he's going to get the bill. I mean, it's just as naturally.
Yeah.
Mhm. John and I have this move we do. It goes like this, and before we can get to our, my dad's already paid. So it's
So another quality is he's really caring. He really cares about others, including my kids. Like, I know he really cares about them and asks about them.
And they know that too.
Yeah.
There's something, even though he does so much with a lightheartedness to it, there's such a depth relationally. Like he has relationships that are really solid gold with people. And it would be surprising that people that would know him very casually, very surface, that because of his lightness towards life, that he has such a rich depth towards relationships. Especially relationships are really, really important to him.
And he listens, and that's a rare quality to have. And when I got back from Rhode Island, from being there for 9 months with Lori and Sierra, I was really not doing well. I just had, I would call it a breakdown. And it was a terrible time. And we talked a lot on Facebook, and he would always encourage me, you can do this, but he would never push me. It was like he was there for me where I was as an encourager, but he never made me feel bad about what I could or couldn't do.
Yeah, true. He doesn't have, if he loves you and is in relationship, a meaningful relationship, he's honest with you, but he is not judgmental. He'll tell you the truth, but he won't hold it against you.
We worked together for years, and then I wound up off the construction crew and in the installation crew. And Ken Perry was a tough guy. He was, you had to toe the mark. He's a no baloney type of guy. He gave you your work, and he checked up on you. I accused him a couple times of being part policeman, because every time I'd turn around, I'd be hiding out behind the 7-Eleven, Clayton and Ayers, or trying to fudge on my work, and he'd be checking up on me. Every time I turn around, he's there. I mean, it's like he had a tracking device on me, but it was it was in the 80s, way before tracking devices. But Ken Perry was always there. He was sometimes, even till today, I feel that I got, some hard calls. He gave me some areas in Concord I didn't like, but I forgive him for it. And we had a long-standing relationship right up till today. I used to pick him up for work in the 70s and give him a ride to work when you guys lived off of Linwood. And Ken Perry was always there for me. He's always been a good friend. And we've always kept in contact. I don't know anybody besides me like him. He's owned a lot of cars. That guy moves around, and he buys more cars than anybody I've ever seen. He buys cars, and within 2 months he's done. And sometimes I buy cars within a week, but Ken Perry is my next big competitor as far as cars.
Growing up with that was funny because he the only one he bought that I hated, he bought this mint green Buick back when I was in 7th grade, and he brought it home, and both John and I were like, nope, we are not driving in that car, and he sold it the next day. It was his only bad decision.
Yeah, he had a lot of cars, but he still needed rides. I still gave him a ride to work. Maybe he didn't have a car that was running at the time, but Ken, when I look back, he's probably one of the most fairest, even though he's tough, and he's as honest as a day is long. I mean, the guy is just totally committed to God.
Kind of hit it off right away. I mean, he's had all these good, funny stories to tell about his life. He had no problem telling his life stories. Things that he's done that were off the wall or embarrassing. He didn't care. He told us all the stories. At the time, Mike Matheson.
Yeah.
Mike Matheson came to work for us, and we were all big 49er fans.
Oh no.
And of course, your dad was a Raider fan.
Yeah.
And even though we worked together, I never had a negative reaction or contact with your dad. It was always positive, funny. Just hit it off right away. But he was a Raider fan, and I didn't tell him that I grew up a Raider fan.
Oh wow.
Because I was more into the 49ers at that time. So we ragged on him. Well, the one year, I don't remember what year it was either 79, 80, or 81, where the Indianapolis Colts they hadn't won a game the whole season. And but they had to play the Raiders. And your dad's biggest comment was, the Indianapolis Colts couldn't even beat a Pop Warner team. And of course, when they beat the Raiders that year, I think it was their only win of the season.
No.
Oh, your dad, we were on him, for days afterwards, and he took it like a trooper. There was steam coming out of his ears a few times. There was a few times he couldn't handle it, but he took it like a trooper, and so he never a dull moment with your dad at work. There was always something going on. Everybody was good friends. When I got married in 1982, of course your mom and dad came to the wedding, and it was great for me, growing up and getting married, and instead of my running around days. And your mom and dad always had that religious aspect that we could always turn to if they needed some guidance. And early on in my marriage, we had a little bit of conflict in the marriage, and we turned to your mom and dad for help, and they were there.
Wow.
So instantly became friends. I mean, there's no way I could ever forget what they did for us. So I called the number, and he answered. I recognized his voice. He says, I'm looking for Ken Berry. And, yeah, this is him. I says, yeah, this is Mike Travers. I was wondering if you were Ken Perry that worked for Concord Cable. Mike!
Oh my gosh.
And when we found out that your mom and dad lived up here, we couldn't wait to get up here to see them.
Yeah.
And so we reconnected, and now we're, we've watched them move 3 times now.
Oh my gosh. It's the last house. This one's the last house.
Yeah, until it isn't.
Right.
And let's see, what are we on? 6 cars now? 6, 7, 8 cars.
Yeah. No, that's my last truck. Oh no, I needed a car. Oh no, I needed a truck. No, I need an SUV.
Now he has a truck that he doesn't drive. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's our ongoing joke. He goes, "Hey, I got a new truck. All right. How long are you keeping this one?" No, this is it. This is the last. This is it. You know how it's like. But
we always said we're surprised you never traded mom in. Because we were in so many cars and, different cars, different houses, moved all the time.
Oh, and, please. Mom would get rid of him before
he
got rid of Mom. From all the stories, I think we got him on the upside of his life, not the downside.
Yeah, it is interesting. He had just come out of, I'm thinking right when you met him, he was a good guy by then.
He was a good guy then, yeah. And, they were real strong in the church. And, and of course his life was different from my life growing up, but I knew I could turn to him for help because he experienced it. His life experiences were enough that a lot of us turned to him for life experience help. Because he whatever it is he was embarrassed of or ashamed of, he's not afraid to talk about it because it helps others.